She was never taught to expect respect, she was taught to earn it slowly, carefully, quietly. From an early age she understood that some people moved through the world with ease while others learned to measure every step, every smile, every word, every pause carried weight. She learned which spaces welcomed her presence and which merely tolerated it, and she adjusted without being asked. It became second nature, this constant awareness, the invisible calculations that shaped her days. She did not question it at first because questioning required language she had not yet learned and courage. She was still growing into life, moved forward in routines shaped by responsibility more than possibility. She woke early, worked hard, returned home tired, and repeated the cycle, telling herself this was simply how things were for people like her. Yet beneath the surface something restless lived quietly inside her. It was not anger, not yet, but awareness, the kind that grows when patterns repeat too often to be coincidence. She noticed how rules seemed flexible for some and rigid for others, how patience was praised in those expected to endure, how silence was framed as virtue rather than necessity. She tried to live well within the boundaries drawn for her, believing that good behavior might eventually lead to better treatment. She followed rules, respected authority, and avoided conflict because conflict rarely ended well for people in her position. Still, the limits never moved. The promises of eventual fairness remained distant, always just beyond reach. She began to understand that waiting politely was not a solution but a holding pattern designed to keep things exactly as they were. This realization did not arrive dramatically, it arrived gradually, through exhaustion, through the tired feeling of always having to prove worth that should have been assumed, through the quiet frustration of knowing that dignity was being rationed and distributed unevenly. She did not want special treatment, she wanted equal ground, a place where respect was not conditional. The day that would later be remembered as a turning point did not announce itself as such. It began like countless others, unremarkable, routine and familiar. She moved through it on instinct, unaware that something within her was nearing its limit. The setting was ordinary, the expectations clear, and the outcome assumed by everyone around her, including herself. Yet something felt different that day, though she could not immediately explain why. The weight she had carried for years felt heavier than usual, pressing against her chest, demanding acknowledgement. She felt tired in a way sleep could not fix, tired of adjusting, tired of yielding, tired of shrinking herself to fit spaces. As the moment unfolded, she felt the familiar pressure to comply, to move aside, to preserve order. That pressure had guided so many of her past decisions quietly, effectively, but this time it collided with something stronger, a clarity she had never allowed herself to fully feel. The realization was simple and unsettling: if she complied again, nothing would change, not for her, not for anyone watching silently from the margins. Compliance had not protected her, it had only delayed confrontation, and suddenly the cost of remaining silent felt greater than the risk of standing firm. She did not feel brave, she felt honest, honest about her limits, honest about her worth, honest about the quiet truth she had been avoiding. In that still moment she understood that respect was not something that would be granted later, it was something she had to claim now or lose entirely. The world around her continued moving, following its expected script, but inside her time slowed. She considered the consequences quickly because she was not reckless. She knew what standing firm might invite: scrutiny, punishment, and isolation, but she also knew what stepping aside would confirm: that her comfort mattered less, that her dignity was negotiable, and for the first time she refused to negotiate it. She did not raise her voice, she did not make a scene, she did not explain herself, she simply stayed exactly where she was, calm, steady, and unmoving. That quiet decision disrupted more than the immediate situation, it disrupted an unspoken agreement that people like her would always accommodate discomfort for the sake of order. It challenged the assumption that respect could be delayed, denied, or dismissed without consequence. The silence that followed was heavy. In that moment she did not think of history or legacy, she thought only of herself as a human being deserving of the same consideration as anyone else. That thought grounded her even as uncertainty loomed. She understood that whatever happened next, her relationship with the world had changed. She had chosen alignment over acceptance, and that choice once made could not be undone. The quiet moment that redefined respect had arrived, not with chaos but with clarity, and everything that followed would unfold from that single calm refusal to step aside.